Virtual reality inputs will never work as currently designed. VR is the most futuristic technology available. It promises an absolutely epic type of entertainment. You can put a headset on and you're teleported to a high definition, totally new world where you can experience adventure firsthand. But when you launch the game, something goes very, very wrong. Why do you get motion sick? Why does it feel so weird when your hand passes through that virtual wall? Why does the interaction feel so slow and clunky? Quickly, you put the headset back on the shelf. Adventure is just not worth the pain. This is the story we hear over and over again. Is it because we aren't used to VR? Is it because the technology is doomed to fail? Let's explore the immersion problem in VR. Here at Comically Normal XR, we noticed that playing VR just doesn't feel so great after the wow factor of being in a new world starts to fade. After getting acclimated to your surroundings, your brain immediately wants to reach out and interact with the virtual world. This is where immersion starts to break. Mice, keyboards, and controllers are great input devices, but only for flat screen experiences. We believe that in VR, you should be able to reach out into the world and feel it. See, mice and keyboards give you great control, but they lock you down to a seated position. They also only really give you a couple degrees of freedom because they were designed to interact with flat screens. I don't put on my VR headset to type an essay, so why would I want an input device that's basically just a typewriter? To solve this problem, headset manufacturers prefer to pair their headset with controllers instead. But these aren't like an Xbox controller where the only way to interact with the game are buttons and joysticks. VR controllers are 6DoF, meaning that they map to 3D space. Grabbing, pointing, and physically reloading a weapon are suddenly possible. These are great and all, but try throwing something, attempting fine manipulation, or doing anything at all that requires fingers to accomplish, and you realize it's still not good enough. When I play VR, I want to reach out into the world, but these devices are just half measures. A wall between you and immersion. Affordances theory is basically the theory that to build intuitive virtual experiences, it's necessary to tie them directly to real world experiences via metaphor. On a keyboard, you started with mechanical typewriters with lettering on them, visually indicating what the stamp on the page was going to look like without needing to see the stamp. Then computer keyboards retain the lettering without an actual stamp needing to be present in the system at all, because you are still adding text to a page. The trash bin icon on your desktop or phone represents removing waste, and the file cabinet icon represents storage of data. But affordances aren't only visual, they're physical too. Why do we appreciate the press of a keystroke or the click of a mouse? They indicate to us that an action is complete. Intuitive experiences are immersive experiences, and intuitive experiences are built on affordances. VR companies seem to understand that the most intuitive mapping of a human interacting in the real world to interacting in virtual 3D space is a direct one, where your hands in the game mimic your hands in real life, but they disagree on how to solve it. VR controllers have been popular because they retain the feedback and are reliable, but they are still built with joysticks from the 2D era, and so games map their movement and camera to this mismatched affordance. Camera hand tracking has started to become popular as a drop-in call-it-a-day replacement, but it has major problems. When it works, it can feel okay, but most of the time, it doesn't work. Have you noticed how annoying it actually is that you have to have your hand face the camera to do the pinch motion in menus? Try clicking through menus for more than a couple seconds on a Quest, and you'll see what I mean. And as a side note, why exactly are they 2D menus? The experience isn't great because at the end of the day, it isn't the right tool for the job. There's way too much occlusion on the hands, meaning that cameras can lose tracking. The field of view of the cameras is limited. And don't even get me started on the fingers. It just isn't reliable. While it is a very accessible technology when put on standalone headsets, it just doesn't feel that immersive. Have you ever played a game with a bow and arrow? How immersive is it when you lose tracking when you try to fully knock an arrow? I was playing a Wild West game and the hand tracking kept losing tracking when I put my hands to my sides to grab the in-game revolver. And with no feedback to tell you if you've grabbed them or not, you immediately feel like you lost control. That's exactly what I want in a high-stakes situation, losing control. It instantly breaks immersion and your brain rejects the experience. What you really need is a glove. That's why we at Comically Normal XR built the IJK Glove, a glove that understands the fundamentals of immersion. You expect your mouse to be where you move it every time, and you expect to feel it click every time. Less than that is unacceptable. So who's it for? Gamers that want a fully immersive experience that solves hand tracking well and has feedback for actions that reduces the annoyances under the surface that keeps virtual reality from truly hooking them. It's highly accurate to allow for fine motor control in game, has a motor in each ring for dynamic haptic feedback, and works with our full body tracking suite or third-party trackers. So check out our Kickstarter if you believe also that the VR inputs are the last hurdle for the VR comeback of a lifetime.